Bramborough back with some Grand Tactician Civil War, our CSA campaign in 1.06 beta. Before I get rolling in this episode, I want to throw a quick mention out. Once or twice in my campaigns, I've mentioned another Grand Tactician player on YouTube, Worms and Warriors. It's got good stuff. But what I want to call attention to here is, you look at all the Grand Tactician content on the YouTube, and the vast majority of campaigns, including mine, including most people's, are either spring or summer 1861 starts. And it's not like I've seen every single one. I'm sure there's some out there, but it's pretty rare to see an 1864 start, which is pretty different. It presents an entirely different set of problems for the CSA. And Worms recently did a pretty nice 1864 campaign series as the CSA. And, it's pretty daunting. There's huge manpower disparities. There's billions of Union soldiers everywhere. And, it looks pretty rough at the beginning. It is. But anyway, Worms kind of showed how it was done. I enjoyed watching it. I'd never played an 1864 campaign before. It was just a little bit different look. It was pretty neat. And he did it on Very Hard, Very High, no less. And in 1.06, also worth mentioning. In any case, just thought that was worth a mention. And I'm going to throw a link to the playlist of Worms' 1864 campaign at the end of this video. Okay. All right, so what we got going on here? So one of the things we've been kind of following along in past episodes is railroad construction. We had started building a railroad over here in Texas, and the projected construction time of that thing, I think it was Houston Shreveport Railroad, initially showed us something like 265 days, and then when we went to actually build it, once under construction, it's showing us a much longer time, and it was the only railroad. It is the only railroad being built, and so it wasn't another railroad competing for that build time. And so then the hypothesis became, well, we have all these other buildings going. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe they're sucking away resources. And then in either the last episode or maybe the one just prior, all these markets that we had built all along the Gulf Coast and some on the Atlantic coast, those all finished building. Our prison camp finished building. Our news agency had finished building. Our hospital finished building. So there's not very many other buildings still under construction right now at the moment. So, given that, let's take a look and see how that railroad's doing. $449 days still. So given that, I don't think that the construction of other types of buildings elsewhere on the map is driving why the actual construction time is so much slower than the projected time was. I don't have an answer for that. Basically, just in the absence of another theory on why that occurred, the best I can come up with for now is that, I chose to build that railroad straight away. See, even now, it is showing 449 days on this tooltip, but if I just come over here and hover over the grayed out construction button, it's showing 224. It's also showing that it is 11% complete. And we started building that railroad about a month ago, roughly. I mean, the campaign only started in mid-July. So just as a ballpark estimate, if we consider, okay, about 10% per month. So that's a 10 month build time, which is longer than 224, but it's also a heck of a lot shorter than 449. So we're getting kind of conflicting information here, and I don't quite know how to parse that. I don't have a good idea for why that's happening. I think, basically, and, hopefully I don't spend like tons and tons of time jabbering on about it, but this is something to keep a watch on and just kind of see how fast is this thing really completing by percentage compared to what these tooltips are telling us. It's possible in the game code, maybe the tooltips are just off. They're not calculating correctly or something. Or maybe the 11% is done. Or maybe this 11% is what's wrong. I don't know. Anyway, we'll just keep an eye on it and just kind of see how it goes. Okay, enough on that. So in the last episode, I had gotten into the policies, in which, oh, by the way, we have another policy. Let's see, what do we got here? Looks like we've got admin, well, it flipped away. Okay. So we've got admin reform available. This comes in various levels, and the more admin reform levels that we have, the quicker policies get unlocked. And given that this is a political subsidy item, and I'm kind of looking at these other ones, yeah, I think this is probably it's probably a pretty good idea to get several levels in admin reforms so that we can get our policies done quicker, which is going to get more subsidies flowing, which is going to then speed up funding to other projects. As talked about before, there's not a project to directly increase other projects, but this kind of does the same thing by speeding up policy research, which kind of has at least roughly the same effect on getting more subsidy money flowing. So I'm going to take that. And the other thing we had done was we finished the Springfield Rifle project. It was like, yay, maybe we can get some Springfields now. Well, what I knew this, I just simply forgot to do it in the last episode, is all this does is unlock availability. It doesn't actually get you any Springfield rifles. We got to order those and pay for them and wait for their delivery. So, a little bit of trepidation here. Let's see. This happens in the Weapons tab, right? This is a new tab in 1.06. Let's go down and look for Springfield Rifle muskets. Here we go. Can we order them? Yes. And look how much they cost. Yeah, okay, I looked ahead off camera. But just to put it in perspective, okay? for one full-size brigade, right? Infantry brigade, 3,000 men, you need 3,000 rifles. That's 1.5 million for one brigade. That's pretty sobering. And oh, by the way, it's going to take like 2.5 months to get them. Well, we're going to need a lot more than just rifles for one brigade. And that's why I had this. The highest you can order in one batch is 50,000 rifles, which is about the way that I put my corps together, 9 brigades, which is pretty typical. Some people build them a little smaller. A lot of people build corps a lot bigger than I do. So I think I'm probably fairly average among Grand Tactician players. So well, this is like slightly less than maybe 2 corps worth. 26 million. All right. So if I have 2 corps, you know, just for argument's sake, if we have a 2-corps army over in Virginia, a 2-corps army in Tennessee. This is later, of course, once I actually unlock Army Corps structure. And these would be, you know, this would be basically a force of about 60-ish thousand, maybe 65,000 men in Virginia, a 2-corps army of about 60 to 65,000 in Tennessee, maybe a corps-sized army over in the Trans-Mississippi, and maybe one kind of bopping around the Appalachian, you know, 6, you know, we're talking like about 150,000 infantry. And so what does that work out to be? About $80 million to equip all that infantry with rifles. That seems out of whack to me. You know, these are not cutting edge technology at this point in history. You know, these are kind of standard issue line infantry small arms. They're not repeaters. They're not breech loaders. They're not sniper rifles. It just seems off to me. But in any case, what am I going to do? Not equip my guys with rifles? That's not going to work. So, you know, I'm going to buy the things. Yeah. I'm kind of thinking maybe it seems like a lot because of the size of the economies that we've had in this game up through 1.05. Maybe as things get rolling several months, a year into the campaign, it winds up that the size of these economies gets much larger than what we've gotten used to in the past. And so things that seem really expensive right now, like the $18 million forts and the $1.5 million for one brigade of rifles, maybe they're not really that expensive once the economy gets rolling. I don't know. All right. Well, anyway, let me not forget to actually do it. I am going to buy, if I can find it again, where are they? I'm going to order, rather. Going to do it. Need the guns. What am I going to do? Run around with the mixed muskets for the majority of my infantry? I don't think so. I'm going to order 50,000 Springfield rifle muskets. And it's going to take almost half a year for them to be delivered. And we are going to have to put up with Springfield muskets and mixed muskets until then. You know, I can't wait for these to arrive early in 1862 to recruit more troops. So we're just going to have guys with mixed muskets and smoothbores. I don't see any other way around it. Hopefully, the AI is dealing with similar issues. I sure hope so. Anyway, there, boom, done. Now, it might transpire that, we've got I know we have another foundry building. I don't remember if I'd built another ironworks. But maybe as you get more ironworks on the map and upgraded, maybe this delivery time will come down a little bit. So it's not just the cost, it's also the time it's going to take to get weapons into the hands of the troops. Okay, enough on that. And as I mentioned before, as the military subsidies keep rolling, and we are working on Military 2 to get more military subsidies rolling. Got the Springfields done. I also need to kind of open up the recruiting spigot a little. So I think my next move is probably going to be recruitment offices. And then once that's done, as I talked about before, not as good as Springfield's, but better than smoothbores, I'm going to take that rebore muskets policy as well. And then I might, well, I was going to say, then I might hold off and do weapons production. That's actually a different subsidy level. That is industry. So let's see what we're giving up by each level of this project further increases industrial productivity, and each level of this project further increases transport capacity. And these are all pretty important. And each one of them is 500K. So I may kind of round robin these, do a weapons, do a subsidized, do an infrastructure, do another weapons. Anyway, that's the landscape of that little problem. We'll just see how we navigate that as the campaign continues. All right. And final thing I wanted to point out is we have completed building our prison camp, which is somewhere in Georgia, not at Andersonville. Let me turn this filter off. Where did I put that? Here it is. Okay, so let's take a look at this thing. So this thing, if I remember correctly, cost something like 1.4 to 1.5 million to build. Now that it is built, it holds 1,000 prisoners. So the idea of these things is that as you capture guys on the battlefield, normally they would get paroled. And then some of those troops would re-enlist and re-enter the manpower pool of the enemy and come back and fight another day. And a pretty typical re-enlistment rate, it goes up and down a little bit depending on state support and all that sort of thing, but a fairly typical re-enlistment rate is probably about 50%, give or take 10%. So somewhere between 40 and 60%. Let's just use 50% as just kind of a average round number. So if I want to, say, reduce the Union manpower pool by keeping all the captured prisoners by, let's say, 10,000 men, in order to do that, I need to actually hold 20,000 prisoners. Because if I just paroled them all, half of them wouldn't re-enlist anyway. I assume that I mean, that's how the casualties work, and when you disband units, and when they come out of service, about roughly half of them will re-enlist to come back into service. Well, okay, so to hold 20, this leaves aside the problem of actually capturing 20,000. That would take a long time to do over the battles, even if your cavalry is scooping them up pretty good. But it would take 20 Tier 1 camps to hold that many, and that's $30 million there. I just thought these things would hold more prisoners, right? I kind of thought maybe they would hold 3,000, 5,000. Well, they don't. They hold 1,000. So I'm not 100% sold that prison camps are really worth the investment. I'm not sure they're not. I'm just not sure that they are. And how much does it cost to upgrade? Almost $3 million to upgrade the prison camp. And then that begs the question, how much does that upgrade improve this capacity? Now, if it improves the capacity to like 5,000 at Tier 2 and 10,000 at Tier 3, okay, maybe that becomes a worthwhile investment, right? But if it only increases capacity to 2,000 at Tier 2, yeah, basically the economics kind of work less and less in our favor. Now, they can be overcrowded. We can hold more than 1,000 prisoners here. It's just then you go into an overcrowding situation, which pisses off the states from which those troops came and increases their support for the Union. Well, we don't want that. At this point, it's the penny wise, pound foolish. We keep a few guys out of uniform, but the increased state support means that they're providing more men too. So it's a wash, or maybe even works against you. You wind up creating a worse problem than what you're trying to solve. Anyway, just an observation. I don't know how it's going to pan out. We'll see. But that's kind of my recent thoughts on prison camps once I saw the capacity of these things. Okay. Well, I've already been jibber-jabbering for a while. And I know that I know this campaign's going pretty slow because it's a new patch. There's tons of new stuff. Almost all of it is kind of on the campaign map, economic stuff, buildings, projects, yada, 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 yada. And I'm lingering a lot on that stuff because that's what's new in the game. And, that's what I'm trying to learn. That's what I think a lot of the viewers are trying to learn. So I'm spending a lot of time on those features, which are kind of in areas, econ and so forth, where in the past, those decisions didn't exist at all, or, would have kind of just gone through them very quickly, or done them off camera and not talked much about them. But I think kind of the nature of the campaign, checking out the beta, just kind of the way it's going. And it kind of seems like a lot of people are interested in this stuff, so it's going to kind of keep going that way. That said, we've gone 3 episodes without a battle, and our readiness has kind of come back up on some of our, most of our armies, so I'm kind of thinking maybe we'll see if a battle occurs during this episode. Let's check our supply statuses. Let's just go east to west. I think these guys are probably fine here. They're getting 100. Oh, let me turn off the superfluous monuments and get my telegraph and supply turned on. Aha! Johnston did capture that Tier 2 supply depot. So we're drawing from it again. Both of them. How much is in it? Not too much ammo, uniforms, artillery ammo. Okay, a little low on that. But there's a buttload of provisions there, so that's good. And given that supply depots, like many other things in the game, have gotten much more expensive, you know, capturing one is a good deal. Need to kind of keep an eye over. There is an army here. I think that's McClellan, Army of the Occupation. Building a supply depot at Cumberland. Once he's done with that, he may start nosing around over here around Winchester again. Okay, we have got 15, 17, we got 32,000 men between these two armies. And our intel estimates are currently telling us that oh, McDowell has actually lost some troops. He was above 30,000. Oh, yeah. He's lost all of his three-month volunteers. They've had that, and you know, this is kind of one of the problems that the Union has at the start of the summer 1861 campaign that the CSA does not. We start with 12-month guys, and the Union starts with a lot of brigades on 90-day contracts. They're gone now. So McDowell has dropped to 24,000. Let's see how Patterson is doing. 11,000. So some of these may be newly recruited, but even Patterson has dropped a few thousand as well. I think he was at 13,000. Well, okay, so there's still 35,000 troops here, and we've got 32. Food for thought. Kind of wonder what McClellan's troop level is here. Okay, West Virginia militia last seen over in this direction. Estimated 8,000 men. With another 1,500 coming. And that's apparently a current location report, August 22nd. That's where we think he is as of today. That's not time late. Oh, I forgot to look at, I think this is Garnett, who's still trying to solve his, well, I think I had decided I was going to go ahead and let him build a depot. And right as I was about to do that last episode is when Kentucky seceded and I got totally distracted. Okay, I want to build a depot close enough so that he can still be drawing from it if he has to run back up to Grafton. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay. That'll take him a little while to do. 37 base. Is that a little bit longer than what we formerly had in 1.05? I don't remember. It seems a little bit longer. Okay, let's see how Sidney Johnson is doing. 97%. And apparently is not drawing supply from this depot. Which makes sense because it's pretty much empty. I don't quite know what to do with this army. The choices being come up here and try to take Covington, or come over here and take Evansville. Not really because we care about Indiana territory as much as Evansville, throws out a sphere of influence that covers a big chunk of Kentucky. This farm remains Union because of Evansville, Indiana. You get the idea. Hartford because of Evansville. And then we do have this 21,000 man, estimated 21,000 at K Road now, who this commander, whoever that is, has completed that supply depot, so he might start moving around and causing problems. So I'm kind of thinking come up here and take Covington, or do we move over here and kind of start covering the western part of the state? If I do that, that just leaves Louisville uncovered. At the same time, I don't really just want him sitting here either. Now, the big point of taking Louisville was to get Kentucky to secede. That has happened. If the Union takes Louisville back, I don't think they unsecede back to the United States. I think it remains a Confederate state. So that, but it would be occupied. We lose support in Kentucky, etc. That's so. I don't know if it's worth spending $18 million for a fort here. Because if I did spend it, it's still a Tier 1 fort. I have no reason to think that they're going to be any more robust than they were prior to this patch. So really, they could just run up and just assault it and take it. I'm dithering. This supply depot is going to fill back up. So I do, even though he's not getting 100% supplied now, he is really close to it. These levels are going to degrade very slowly. And more stuff is going to be coming to this supply depot. It is on a railroad. So for now, so that he can flex in either direction depending upon what these various armies do, I am going to leave him at Louisville for the time being. There. My decisive action in not acting. Make what hay you will of that in the comments. Okay, and we've got Sterling Price. He's building a supply depot, and he's still got some time left before more brigades are available to come to him. And let's see how those brigades are doing. Oh, I think most of them are here. They are. Yeah, the 3 brigades which are earmarked for Price's army, they're here. I really don't see any reason not to just ship them on out to Missouri. Well, Arkansas, rather, now. So let's do that. Let me turn the garrisons off. I think we'll go ahead and create another division. We'll leave these at well, let me think. So Rains has got 3,000 men. McCulloch's got 3,400. These three together are about almost 7,000 men. And they're all about the same size. I went with the medium size. We've talked about that before. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and the smallest division is Rains at 3,000. So I'm going to put one of these brigades in Rains' division. And then I'll create another division under Price. And we'll put de Polignac and Cabell here. And I think we can come up with a better divisional commander than Henry Jackson. How about... Well, we can come out of this view now. Here, I noticed this a while back, but I haven't mentioned it. People might have noticed that I haven't put Robert E. Lee anywhere. It turns out that Lee and Samuel Cooper are literally ineligible for any command right now because they are full generals. And the various armies that we have now, even though they're called armies and will remain such until the Army Corps organizational project is unlocked. They're called armies, but they're corps-sized units, right? Lee and Cooper are literally too senior right now to go into any field command. Now, maybe that was true even before this patch. I just never had run across that because prior time, in my prior CSA gameplay, I had typically just saved Lee anyway for when I formed the Army of Northern Virginia proper with an Army Corps structure, which would typically happen in about in the first half somewhere of about 1862, which was about the time that Lee got involved there anyway, toward the end of the Peninsula Campaign, just before the 7 days. This time around, earlier I'd been thinking, well, I'll go ahead and put Lee somewhere in an army, and discovered I can't. I have to wait for that project to put him anywhere, or Cooper either, for that matter. Which Cooper's not a terrible general, really. Not in this campaign, but I've talked about Cooper in the past. Kind of an interesting character about which there just isn't very much information at all. Senior most general in the he outranked Lee. Stayed in Richmond the whole time. His title, I think, was Adjutant General of the Confederate States Army, so kind of an administrative position, logistics, and there's really not that much out there about him. I feel like there's more to know about this guy and what he did and did not do during the war between the states. Anyway, so our one brigadier general available is Alexander Lawton. I don't know about that. Let's find. We're going to have to promote a colonel, I think, here. Let's find a decent infantry colonel. Let's sort by leadership. How about this fella? Political general, but not bad. These biographical notes kind of indicate probably was a. I don't recognize that name, but kind of implies that he was a historical figure. They just don't have a portrait for him, I guess. How about Posey? Now that's pretty attractive. However, I've already got another Reigns in that army, so that would get confusing. Reigns is the other Reigns. Yeah, I'll go with Harper. Wait a minute. Let me look at his initiative: active, leadership inspiring, mediocre for administrator, but unpredictable for. So those, and I've mentioned stuff like this before. Those verbal descriptions kind of imply that he's got a ceiling on these attributes. That he's got room to improve as he gets into command, to see some combats. So yeah, even though it's political, I'm going to go ahead and we'll have Harper's division under Price. All right then. Once these guys arrive, I think we'll have a force that can go up and see what they can do against Nathaniel Lyons. Start moving up into Missouri. Still 2 weeks until they get over there. It's a little bit of a distance. Okay. All right, so back over here in Virginia, the question becomes, okay, so we're kind of at a state now where we're not as concerned about a battle as we were before. So do we basically kind of cover Winchester and this Northern Virginia area some more and then simply not shy away from a battle like I had been doing? Or do we actually just run up here and precipitate a battle and then take Alexandria back again? And I think the answer I like is right now they've had a drop in their troop levels because of their expiring contracts. So I think maybe we want to pop another battle on them before they recruit more troops back into these armies. And oh, by the way, at least some of these troops, I think particularly in Patterson's army, probably already are newly recruited troops who may not have been in previous battles, therefore are still going to have that first combat morale debuff. Well, the same is true of us, though. We've recruited troops into our army. That's probably a wash. How close is Beauregard? Beauregard's almost back up into green readiness. Oh, somebody's unhappy. What's that about? Oh, right. Bonham and... I thought we had replaced... Oh, I think I replaced Huger in one of those episodes where we rolled back afterward. Bonham's staying where he is. He's fine. But I need to replace Huger again. Did it once before, but that got eradicated when I rolled back after the bugs. Where's Huger? There we go. I don't remember who we replaced him with last time. Yeah, good on admin, and would actually make a pretty decent artillery division commander somewhere else. But his guys aren't happy with him because of the combined leadership and fame, which is 0 and 2. So we wanted to find a colonel, preferably infantry. With at least 4 stars combined between those two attributes, those are the two that matter for that particular. Posey's got 3. Rains, this Rains has 3. Gardner. And I think Gardner's who I chose last time we did this. Okay, Gardner's mine. Okay, this is the 15,000 man corps with 31 guns. This is the 17,000 man with 24 guns. Beauregard still has a pretty fair amount of casualties following the Battle of Alexandria, which was almost a month ago. And that's really the main reason why he's still a little bit lower than Johnston is. So I think lead with Johnston into Alexandria, and we'll have Beauregard come up too as the reinforcing army. Let's go ahead and bring Beauregard up to Manassas. If we do it that way, then probably just kind of the way battles often, not always, but often work out, Beauregard's army may see less of the combat. And then we'll just put Johnston just right here beside him. Let's roll time. See what happens here. Ooh, Shenandoah Army's already got a perk. Now, what I've typically done in the recent past for core, it's an army now, it will eventually be a corps, but for these core level forces, I would typically go with flying column, movement speed, improves supply. Pontoon train, because of more supply efficiency, was the main reason I would go for this. And I think most recently I had been doing something in here. Land torpedoes. Skirmishing efficiency 5%, enemy movement speed within range minus 10%. I used to use these scouting ones a lot more, like skilled cartographers and BMI. And that is mainly because I used to have most of my forces in scouting stance all the time for improved intelligence. Well, what it took me a long time to figure out was that was greatly hampering their reinforcement speed. And I was wondering, why is it taking 17 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours for these guys to get to the battlefield? It's because I ran them around in scouting mode all the time, and so I stopped doing that. And as a result, I've stopped using skilled cartographers, which used to be one of my kind of go-to perks. I think, though, and I really like Ambulance Corps, but I used to save that for the Army level command above all the corps. So it would apply to all of them. But A, I don't know how fast we're going to get to that. And B, I think that this thing levels up pretty fast, up to level 2 and level 3. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of go with Ambulance Corps as my go-to first perk on all these core size armies, which I have not done in the past. But I think I'm going to do that for this campaign, just to see how it works out. What about... not yet, but he's getting pretty close. He's about 75 to 80% full on his ring there. Garnet's not close. I don't think anybody else is going to be real close because they haven't done any combat yet. Although Sidney Johnston's like, I captured a whole state for you. That ought to be worth something. Yeah, no one else is close. This episode has been going about an hour. So if we get a battle going here, I will probably do that in the next episode. However, I'll post that battle episode the same day, right? I'll schedule it for posting right after this one. If I'm able to do that. I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll retreat when I get up here. Should be getting more economic and intelligence reports soon, getting toward the end of August. Okay. Let me just take a quick look at the dispatches, see if I've missed anything kind of interesting. Nope, nope. Oh, we completed some other construction. Oh, yeah. I had built a news agency at New Orleans just as a test as we were looking at the banks and stuff. Well, that's done. Okay. What else we got? Oh, I guess we already have another monthly. Well, it's not the end of the month yet. It seems a little early. Let's see what it says. I guess we got it on August 22nd. AAA credit rating? That doesn't seem right. It does kind of, we've spent a lot of money. And we've accrued $90 million in debt. I would have expected that this credit rating is wrong. However, we are still in the A's. We're at A minus. And I was talking in a last episode about, wow, credit rating is going to be an issue. Maybe it just doesn't drop as much as it used to. Economy contraction, wealth very poor and decreasing. 0 buildings constructed. I know we had to build something in August. This doesn't smell right. Exports 1.3 million. At least we exported something. Last report it was 0. 18 million imported. Yuck. That's just a drain on the economy. Got a little bit of corporate production increase. And we lack artillery. Yeah, no shit. Which we're upgrading our iron mine. We're building a foundry. I can't remember if I built another ironworks or not. But we've already kind of taken steps that hopefully should help alleviate this. Maybe it wasn't enough and need to do more. But even if we fix this, the only things that we can order right now are 12 and 24 pound howitzers anyway. Can't even do 12-pound field. One other thing about these weapons that I found kind of odd. Talked about the Springfield rifles and all that, but take a look at this. Smoothbore Springfield muskets. Still have 15,000 of them. Can't order any more. So once we're done with this 15,000, and we've got quite a bit out among the troops already, and we have 15,000 more. But once these are done, that's it. And as far as I can tell, I looked through these projects. I don't see anything that unlocks more smoothbores. Which I'm not saying that I, really was jonesing for that. But it is odd, right? I mean, Smithfield muskets are better than mixed muskets, at least. If I got nothing else. But apparently I have no way to obtain them. Which hopefully doesn't become a problem. I just think that's kind of weird. Right. Okay, so Patterson's combat radius is probably right about here. I'm just going to move Beauregard up a little closer. Watch me mess this up and he winds up being the leading corps in the battle. Alright, that's close enough. Alright, Johnston. Go smack Patterson. And maybe we can kind of beat up on him before McDowell gets to the field and get close to winning before those 24,000 men in the Army of Northeastern Virginia come into play too much. It might work out that way. It might not. There we go. Oh! Snap! For whatever reason, maybe a stance, maybe because it's across a major river, no reinforcement from McDowell. We can defeat these guys in detail. 11,000 men, no reinforcements, and we've got our 32,000. And Beauregard's only 2 hours. So he'll be on the field very quickly. Nice. Okay, well, as I mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and cut this episode here. And so the second battle of Alexandria will be the next episode, but I will post that episode right about the same time. So I'm not going to have to wait a day to finally see some tactical map action after several campaign map episodes. So, if you like the content that we're doing here, taking a look at 1.06 and other Grand Tactician battles, or, it's not the only game I do. If you like some of the other stuff, leave a like, leave a comment, maybe even subscribe if that strikes your fancy. But at any rate, thank you very, very much for watching. I appreciate it.